My name is Rose. I'm a diabetes educator over at St. Anne's Hospital. We have a diabetes education program that we work through the hospital, teaching people who have diabetes how to take care of their diabetes. Our goal today is to do that, help people who have diabetes take care of their diabetes, but also people who are at risk, people who have family members that have diabetes and they want to know how to help them. We're going to target those people too, because the insurance doesn't cover for them to get education sometimes, and so it's important to know. It's very informal. Anybody who's ever been to any of my groups, they're very informal, so please share. Share what you want and feel comfortable sharing. I'll pick on some of you that I may know, and then as I get to know you, I'll pick on you as well. Feel free to ask any questions that you... 90% of the people who have diabetes have type 2 diabetes. It's by far the most common type. How many people here have been told that they have a high blood sugar or have prediabetes or a difficulty in their blood sugars? Several. Great. How many people have a family history of diabetes? Yeah, that's a lot of people, and that's because diabetes is a very disease based on heredity. So if you have a family history, you're genetically predisposed to diabetes. Now, what is it that people are looking for? What is it that, what brought you here today? Because everybody that's here came because they wanted to. Their doctor didn't make them come. They came because diabetes is something that people live with every day. You know, I had, because we're doing this, you know, you get reporters, they call you up, and one of the reporters called me and said, I'd like to talk to someone who suffers with diabetes. I said, well, I don't know anybody who suffers with diabetes. I know people who live with diabetes, but because you have diabetes, it certainly doesn't mean you have to suffer with it. It is a condition. I don't even like to call it a disease. It's a condition that you live with, and all you need to know is how to do that. It's not always easy. It's not always fun, but it's certainly something that you can. The main things I hear over and over is, I don't know what to eat. I hear that a lot. I don't know what to eat. I don't know how to make my food. I don't know any of that. And really what you'll find is it's easy enough. You're going to eat stuff that you'll like to eat, but thinking about food in a different way. Type 2 diabetes is preventable. And we work really hard on helping people who don't have it, don't get it. And it's possible. It is a preventable condition. Once you got it, you got it. That doesn't mean you can't control it. Certainly, wouldn't it be great for the people who have diabetes here? Wouldn't it be great if you didn't? Right? Wouldn't it be great if you never got it? Well, it is possible for those people who don't have diabetes to prevent it. So, and we think about that when we talk about our families, our kids. Just because you have diabetes or you have a risk of diabetes does not mean that the kids need to go and get diabetes. We can certainly change that with the next generation. And we do that in what we do today, every day. So we're going to start about what diabetes is. What is diabetes? It's a disorder of metabolism. A lot of people say, well, it's a sugar thing. Yeah, the result is a high sugar, but the problem is metabolism. You're having trouble using energy. Now, where does most of our energy come from? Food. Yeah? Our energy comes from food. So people who have diabetes are having trouble using energy that comes from food. All of the energy that comes from food, what does food turn into? Fat. Fat. That's one of the things. Yep. So when you eat, some of the food turns into fat. What else? There's 3 of them. There's fat. If you have a chicken sandwich.
Protein.
Protein. Yeah. And what's the last thing? Anybody know?
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates. We call carbohydrates sugar. Anything that turns into sugar is called a carbohydrate. But when you eat food, you're not just eating sugar. You have fat and you have protein. And all of those things are important because you need it for your body to do what it needs to do every day. So, protein helps your body build muscle, repair cells. That's the main job of protein. You need it. Every meal should have protein. Protein's good for you. It's supposed to be building muscle, repairing cells. People who have diabetes don't have trouble with protein. You eat a piece of chicken, the body does what it's supposed to do with the chicken. Now, you only need so much protein in the day. You get it? You're good. Your body doesn't have trouble with that. Fat. What do you think we use fat for? It is important, after all. It really is. It helps. Some of the vitamins you eat need fat to be able to be processed. You can't, if there's no fat in your diet, that vitamin's not going to work. It also cushions your organs. And 1,000 years ago, if you didn't have fat, did you make the winter? No. So fat's an important nutrient, and your body needs that too. But does it need a lot? No. Kind of only needs a little bit. The majority of your energy really comes in from sugar. Now, what does sugar do? What do you think? So if protein builds muscle repair cells, fat cushions your organs, what do you think sugar does?
Gives you energy.
It gives you energy. It's your main source of energy. Now, all of these are sources of energy, but they all do different things. Sugar, carbohydrates, anything that turns into sugar. Sugar is what your body will use for its main source of energy. If I need to go from here to that door, my body's going to kind of try to tap into glucose, which is what sugar turns into in the blood. Okay? People who have diabetes are having trouble with sugar. So foods that turn into sugar become a problem for them because they're not using it correctly. Now, how does that work? Well, when you eat, the food ends up in your stomach. And it breaks down. So if you have a chicken sandwich, some of that turns into protein, right, the chicken. There's some fat in that chicken that turns into fat, and your body's going to do what it needs to do with it. The rest of it turns into sugar. That sugar needs to be in your muscles. Now, I always like to have people think of themselves as cars. You're a car. Fuel goes in, right? Protein's sort of like oil. You need it, right? It's there. Every once in a while, you have to do the oil change, so you can't forget it. You need it. Sugar is like the gas. Okay? It's what's going to make the car run. This gas needs to be in the engines. Those are your muscles. So the muscles are the engines of the car. So when you eat, the sugar is supposed to end up in the muscles. But it can't go from the stomach to the muscles, right? Because that would make things way too easy and I wouldn't have a job. The body sends it over to the bloodstream. That's how the doctor knows if your blood sugar is high or low. Why? Because the sugar ends up in the blood before it moves on to something else. Now, there's supposed to be some sugar in your bloodstream. A normal blood sugar runs between 70 to 100. So your body's always working to make sure that it stays between 70 and 100. Now, this sugar needs to move out of here. It can't just sit in the bloodstream, right? What takes the sugar from here and puts it in here? Helps the sugar go into your cells. Anybody know? Exercise will help, but what is the hormone? What is it that's missing for people with diabetes that helps transport this?
Insulin.
Insulin, yeah. So your pancreas sits right behind your stomach, and your pancreas makes insulin. Well, what does insulin do? Insulin helps the sugar go from here to here. I like people to think of it as a truck. Insulin is like a truck that's going to carry the sugar into the cells. Not just your muscles. The muscles are the energy makers. They're the ones that burn energy. But that's not the only cells in your body, and all of your cells need sugar, glucose. So this energy needs to get into the muscles first. They go to the muscles first because that's what's going to burn. If your muscles do not need it, where do you think it goes? Converted and stored as body fat. By insulin. So any carbohydrates that you do not need will go to storage. And that's true of a lot of your nutrients. So if you eat protein and you need only so much, what is your body going to do with the extra? Put it away. Same thing with the fat. So your body's going to use what it needs. Anything else is going to be put away. And so when you think about carbohydrates, it is the same thing. It's your body's main source of energy. If it doesn't need it, it goes and it's stored in the body. body fat. That's really important to remember, because what's one of the things that your doctors might be telling you to help you control or prevent your diabetes?
Lose weight.
Lose weight. He's always telling you to lose weight. You gotta lose weight, you gotta lose weight. Absolutely. But the gaining weight, that's the process of what your body does with the energy. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so you eat, the sugar is sent over to the bloodstream. The bloodstream then, from there, the insulin comes, takes it away, and puts it into the cells. What cells? Depends. Now, how many of us know those skinny people? They eat and eat and eat and they're all like this. Right? Those people have a different what? We say it all the time. Your metabolism is different, absolutely. And what is, again, this is a disorder of what? Metabolism. The way you use energy. So those people have a different metabolism. They burn up a lot of energy. Those cars are like the big Hummers, right? You put the gas in the engine, and it's what? A gallon, 7 gallons to a, what is it, 7 miles to the gallon. Yeah, that's it. The gas is gone, right? And you got to fill it up again. They use up a lot of gas, those kind of cars, right? As opposed to like a little Prius that you put gas in and it drives and drives and drives and drives and never runs out of gas, right? That's like your metabolism. Those people who eat and eat and eat and are thin normally have a high metabolism. They spend a lot of energy right here. The insulin delivers the sugar and the cells say, yeah, just give it to me. I'll find something to do with it. Those are the people that are always moving. Their legs are always going. They're always expending energy. Their metabolism is higher. But as we get older, what happens? We know those kids go, yeah, you're getting a day, right? Because as we get older, our metabolisms change. If we're women, as we go through menopause, metabolism changes, right? So what happens then is your body needs less energy, so it's got plenty more to store. So you end up gaining weight. Now the people who see me tend to be apples. You know the apples, right? As compared to the pears and the bananas, but they gain their weight around the center. Why is that? They gain the weight around the center.
Lack of exercise.
That's why they're gaining, but some people gain around the hips. Some people gain around the belly. Age. And genetic. You gain around the hips because that's where you gain, and you gain around here, that's where you gain. So you've got this genetic predisposition in terms of where you gain the weight. The people who end up developing type 2 diabetes, their weight is usually around the center. So this central weight gain causes lots of problems. Now, most people who have type 2 diabetes struggle with something called insulin resistance. Has anyone heard of insulin resistance? Yeah. So a lot of times, insulin resistance is the crux of the problem. Diabetes is the end of that process. So, you know, sometimes you go to the doctor and the doctor says you've got diabetes and you think, oh, this is a beginning. It's really an end. It's the end result of many years of insulin resistance. So if you think about insulin resistance, you've got to go back to the fact that you gain weight, and you gain weight around the center. Those people who gain weight around the center tend to develop insulin resistance. Now, I like people to think of insulin resistance when you think about those cells. These cells have these little doors, and the insulin attaches to these little doors. But when you gain weight, fat actually accumulates around these little doors, okay? So I want you to picture your cells. They're round like this. They get rolled all over. And you gain weight. The cells grow. What happens to the doors? They close. Now your body says, ooh, the sugar's got to be delivered because that's a normal blood sugar. So the sugar cannot stay in the bloodstream. So your pancreas comes in and says, I'll save you, and sends out more and more and more insulin. So people who have insulin resistance, their pancreas has been making insulin for a very long time. Okay? Doctor does blood work. Blood work's normal. Blood sugars are great. I know your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, everybody has diabetes, but you're good. Why? because your pancreas has made enough insulin to move this sugar out of here. Does that mean that you don't have a problem? No. It just means that your blood sugars are normal. Studies show that this goes on for 10, 15 years before your pancreas starts to say, you know what, buddy? I've been working a long time. I can't anymore. And it starts not making enough insulin. Now, you may go to the doctor, and the doctor may say, your blood sugar is a little high. It's not diabetes yet. Not diabetes, but it is a little high. What does that tell you? Your pancreas is having more and more trouble. And if nothing changes, what's going to happen? It's going to have more and more trouble, to the point where now it can't make enough to move the sugar out. So diabetes is a process. People have type 2 diabetes. How many people in here have type 2 diabetes and take no medicine at all? How many people here take pills? How many people here take insulin? So do you all have type 2 diabetes? Yeah. But where are you? You're in a different stage of the process, okay? So whereas a person who still makes plenty of insulin doesn't need a lot of help, they don't take pills. Does that mean their blood sugars are normal? Not necessarily when they were diagnosed. But does that mean it can be normal? Can it be normal? Absolutely. So it is something that can be controlled, especially at that stage. But the ultimate goal of diabetes, pre-diabetes, any of them, is right here. Is maintaining a normal blood sugar. Years, your pancreas starts to fatigue, and it starts to not make enough insulin. So now the doctor says, you've got to do something. Now the pancreas is struggling. The pancreas isn't going to be there to kind of do it all for you. So the doctor looks to you. So what is it that we do about it? Whether you have diabetes, whether you have pre-diabetes, whether you just want to be healthy, whether it is you want to lose weight. You don't know if you have. You don't know just because you have insulin resistance that you're going to develop diabetes. There are people who they do blood work, their insulin levels are really high for a really long time, and their pancreas never, ever gives up. Their pancreas keeps making insulin. Those people don't develop diabetes. Those people develop diabetes when their blood sugars are elevated. That's when you develop diabetes. But that doesn't mean that you don't have insulin resistance. So
how do you know?
How do you know? That's a good question. How do you know? A lot of times, the answer to that is you don't. You don't. You don't know if you're going to go and develop diabetes. And that's the problem. Now, are they looking at reasons or ways to help people? Yeah. Lots of studies are being done about different tests, genetic testing that can be done to see whether these people go on to develop diabetes or not. But you don't know. But you do know that your mom had diabetes. And you know that you're Portuguese. And you're getting up there. You're like 47 now. What does that all tell you? Your risk factors are growing. Type 2 diabetes has very specific risk factors. Some of them you change, some of them you don't. And we're talking type 2 diabetes because everybody in this room has type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is very different. Type 1 diabetes, they don't make insulin. There is no trucks to move the load. Now, anybody who's come in, does anybody here have type 1? Any of the new people coming in? No. So they do not make insulin. They're usually younger. They're little kids. They're diagnosed younger. If anyone's known anybody who has type 1, they're usually very thin. Very different than when you're diagnosed with type 2. For the majority of those people, not all of them, but the majority, they're overweight. So type 1 happens when your pancreas, there's these cells on your pancreas that make insulin, called beta cells. Those cells get destroyed. Usually autoimmune. The body kind of attacks itself after a virus. So there's not family history. Yeah, some of these kids do have a higher risk if their mom and dad had type 1. They have a higher risk of going on to develop type 1. But not usually. When they do studies and they look at identical twins, these are identical twins, if one gets type 1 diabetes, there's about a 50% chance that the other one will. What do you think the chance of, well, if it's type 2? Over 90% that other twin will also develop type 2 diabetes. So it's a very strong genetic predisposition towards type 2, not so much with type 1. So when we think about risk factors for type 2, what do you think some of the risk factors might be? We've already kind of touched on it. What do you think? Age, as you get older, that's a risk factor. Can you change it? No, plastic surgery can help you look better, but it's not going to help change the clock, right? So as you get older, your risk of developing type 2 diabetes changes. Everybody filled out or looked at a risk screen. Those risk screens, we ask you these questions because we want to know how at risk you are. And that risk screen, the jump for points from when you're 60 to 65 goes up like 9. You get 9 points for that, and it's like 5 points if you're younger. It really increases your risk. But you can't change that, can you? What else is another risk factor we talked about?
Put on weight.
Weight. So family history, weight. So let's talk about weight. Yes, weight is a huge risk factor. As you gain weight, you increase your risk. Is it something you can change? So we put that on like, yes, I can change pile. Family history. So if your mother, father, sister, brother has diabetes, you're at high risk. Can you change that? Can you change the fact that your mom, dad, sister, brother has diabetes? No. Another risk factor is where you came from, your heritage. I am Portuguese, proud to be Portuguese. We have a high risk of diabetes. It is what it is. I can't change that. Can't change that I'm Portuguese, but I can know that it increases my risk. My dad has diabetes, another point. And I'm getting older, another point. So as I think about what I do every day, I remember those risk factors, but I cannot change that. Another risk factor is if you were a big baby or if you had a big baby. So if you delivered a baby more than 9 pounds, your risk of developing diabetes increases. If you were a baby that was more than 9 pounds, your risk factor increases. If you were a premature baby, your risk factor increases. So you add them all up in your head, and you start going, oh, these numbers will get way too big. And then how do you know whether you're going to get it or not? Well, look at your risk factors. The more risk factors you have, the more chances. So look at our children today. Look at our children today, you know, and kind of look at their risk factors and then try to change. So far on this list, we only got weight. There is another thing that goes on this list that actually you can have control over, and that's activity. The more active you are, the less risk of diabetes. The more inactive you are, the more risk of diabetes. So your activity level has a big part of that as well. Now my dad has diabetes. Nobody in his family had diabetes. He was the first one. He says, I'm the first one, I was blessed. I got this problem. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a genetic predisposition to it. He is Portuguese, lived in Portugal, you know, first generation. He lived out there. And he came to America. So now he's living out there. What do you think living out there meant? How did he live out there? Working on the land, right? He worked in the farm. That's how he lived his life. Look at food. You know, the Portuguese get a bad rap, but look at food, you know. They ate what they grew. They ate the animals that they cared for, you know, working on that. Sweet bread. When do you think they had sweet bread? Anybody from there? When do you have sweet bread?
Probably every week, every day.
Every meal?
No,
No.
every holiday. So if sweet bread was an Easter dessert, you had it on Easter. You had it once a year. Sweet rice, celebration. You had it at Christmas if you were lucky. So that's how they ate there. He's working out on the land. He's eating the good stuff normally from the ground. Occasionally, yeah, they have those, you know, where they slaughter the pig and they have a big party, and they may have a little dessert then. That's it. He comes to America, land of the free, land of abundance. He's great. He's in America, and he gets a job over at Duro Finishing at a machine that he drives to. So now he gets in the car, drives over to the shop, he's standing at the machine, and that's what he does all day. But he's making some money, great, and he's got some abundance now. He's got some availability to get food. So what does he get? You know, he's getting now sweet bread every week. Why? I said to him, why? Because I can. Because I can. I can get this for my family. I didn't have this when I was a kid. Now he's got diabetes. And then he goes, I don't know how this happened. But look back just in a few years, what's been going on. His body is not used to sitting at a machine eating, you know, sweet bread every day for breakfast because he can. So his body had to make a lot of insulin to move all of this sugar out that was not getting used up. So what did he do in the last 20 years? He gained a bunch of weight. That predisposed him now to type 2 diabetes, and he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Could it have been prevented? Could it have been prevented? No. So what we work with you, how can we prevent it? Because it can absolutely be prevented. Now, does this make sense? So when we start with, okay, I got this problem, I may have this problem, I don't want this problem, it all starts with, well, how do we fix this problem? So when you look at somebody who has diabetes, there are certain things that you can do to fix this problem. First thing,
Eat better.
food. Let's look at food. And we're going to talk a lot about food. Why? That's a big problem, and that's a big way of controlling, because this is all about energy. We get most of our energy from food. Yeah. Now, do we get all of our energy from eating food? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Yeah, you think so? So if we had no food for 3 days, would we all die?
No.
No.
So where's that energy coming from, you think? Your body is in charge of making sure you ain't gonna die. The liver also makes sugar. So some people say, I can fix this problem by not eating carbohydrates. I just won't eat them. Would you fix this problem? No. No. Because the sugar comes in from the liver, and the problem is not being able to use carbohydrates. The problem is not being able to use energy. Energy comes from glucose, it comes from food, it comes from your liver. But it will come, because it has to. You can't drive to New York if you're cast a car, right? So the body has to give you some energy. So when you're thinking about how come my blood sugars are what they are, never forget that your liver gives you sugar, okay? So the main place we want the energy to come in from is from your stomach, because if not, the liver has to give you sugar, okay? Does that make sense? So sugar is coming in from these 2 areas. We have to look at how you eat. Now, you are a car. I like to tell people this all the time. You're a car, right? And your body is the vehicle of the soul. That's my quote. What do you think you drive? You drive a Mercedes, right? You drive a Mercedes. What kind of gas goes into a Mercedes? Because nobody drives a Mercedes. Super premium unleaded, very expensive, premium fuel. That's what you put in a Mercedes. You are a Mercedes. You've got to put in premium stuff. All the time, 100% of the times, that would be great. But reality is, sometimes you're not going to put the best stuff in. But the majority of times, you need to put the best stuff in. Now, I have here some superfoods. It's a list of foods that are wonderful. Gloria, if you can. When we talk about healthy eating, we talk about 2 things. We talk about quality, we talk about quantity. This is about quality. What kind of foods do you think you want to be putting into your tank? Throw out some ideas. Good stuff.
Green and leafy vegetables.
Fruit, vegetables. What else?
Grains.
Fruit,
Milk.
Grains.
grains. That's right. So it's fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy products, lean meats and fish, some great proteins, nuts. How many people here like nuts? How many people eat nuts? Okay, a little bit more than usual. Excellent. I think nuts are really coming across as being a really great food, and people are feeling more comfortable about eating them. But that's the kind of food that you need to put into your tank. Okay? Is that enough? So you love sweet potato, you love fruit. Love fruit. Is it enough to just to love fruit and eat fruit? Or do you have to look at quantity?
Quantity.
You have to look at quantity. It's not just enough to eat good foods. You need to look at quantities. And we're going to talk about how to put that together. The next couple of weeks is going to be really focused on how you put that together. How much do you need? Because it's gas for the car, so can you stop eating them? No. But do you need a certain amount? Yes. We help you figure out how much you need. So eating right, that's one of what I call the 4 legs of a chair. So you have a chair, you've got a seat that rests on 4 legs. One of those legs happens to be healthy eating. What do you think the other 3 might be? You got healthy eating on one. Exercise, that's right, exercise. Exercise is a huge, huge way to control this problem. Okay, so we look at food in, we look at energy out. Exercise helps you burn more energy. So if you think about this truck that's carrying sugar, when you exercise, that truck carries more sugar. It works better. The insulin you're making works better. Works better to put the sugar here in the muscle because now you need it. If it's going in here, where is it not going? So if it's not going here, and it's going here, it actually can steal from here to put over here. What do you got? Weight loss. So exercise is a key way to help you lose weight. It also controls your blood sugar. How many have diabetes and you go for a walk and blood sugars come down? It's fabulous because it works immediately and you see it. You see it in the numbers. It helps pull the sugar right out of here. So exercise is a huge piece of managing your diabetes. Now, how many people here take medications to treat diabetes? How many people take medicines that actually make their blood sugars lower? How many don't know? No idea. Does it make it lower? What does it do? How does my medicine work? Because you have to understand how your medicines work before you go exercise. Because what can happen to your blood sugar if you're not careful? You can go down, exactly. But not all the medicines you use for diabetes actually cause a low blood sugar. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about how the medicines work in this little system. Because this is like a football team. You got a team player here. You got your pancreas that's making insulin. We got another team player. The liver, it's working here. The cells. All of these are a team. When you are looking to prevent or treat diabetes, you have to look at all of these areas. So your medicines work the same way. They work on all different parts of what goes on in diabetes. How many people take glyburide, glipizide, glucotrol, Amaryl, Prandin, Starlix? Those medicines are called secretagogue. They help your pancreas make more insulin. All right, so your blood sugars are high. The doctor says, well, your blood sugars are high. We've got to fix this. We're going to put you on a medicine that's going to take the sugar out of here. We're going to make more insulin to help the sugar move. That's how those medicines work. So you take this pill, it's going to help pull the sugar out. What are some of the side effects of some of these medicines that you can, those secretagogues? What do you think? You can have low blood sugar. Because if you don't put enough in, what's going to happen? below. Think of this as a bank account. The bloodstream, where you hold the sugar, is like your checking account. Everything comes in and goes out, comes in and goes out. You got the liver here, making sugar when you need it, sort of like your savings account. And you got most of it coming in from your stomach. So it's all coming in here. These medicines work like an automatic withdrawal. First of the month, check. Your mortgage comes out of the bank, right? What happens if you didn't put enough money in? It's going to happen to your account. You're going to bounce a check, right? That's what's going to happen here if you do not have enough coming in and you have sugar going out. So you take this pill, the glucotrol, glyburide, glipizide, glimepiride is another one, Starlux. Your body is making more insulin to pull sugar out. That's what it does. That's what the pill does. Whether you have it or not is not the pill's problem. The pill's problem, the pill's job is to take the sugar out. So what happens if you don't eat? You're going to have low blood sugar. What happens if you use up more energy? Because you're going for a walk now. You're using more energy. You're going to pull out more. That bank account, they actually took out an extra $200 for principal. You weren't expecting that. So what happens? All of those things can throw off the balance and you can have a low blood sugar. So what can you do to prevent that? What do you think? You better have enough in. You better make sure you eat your carbohydrates. Make sure that you're eating right, okay? What should you put in your pocket when you go?
Piece of candy, something.
Something to bring the blood sugar up quickly, yeah. So if you're going to go for a walk, you want to put something in your pocket that's going to bring that blood sugar up quickly. What brings the sugar up quickly?
Orange juice.
Orange juice. Makes it uncomfortable in your pocket,
Yeah.
right? But orange juice does. Yeah. What else?
Hard candy.
Packets of sugar, hard candy,
Glucose tablets.
glucose tablets. Except for, and all of those, including the juice, regular soda is another thing you can use, are all good things to raise your blood sugar. You're going for a walk, you need to have something in your pocket if you take any of these medicines. Now some people say, it's never happened to me. No, gone wood. Yeah, well, is there a guarantee that it's not going to happen to you? So what does my grandmother always say? Better have it than not need it, than need it and not have it. So you should always get in the habit of putting it in your purse, put it in your pocket in case something happens. Now the other side effect of these medicines, as much as disappointing for me to say this as it is weight gain. Is weight gain. So here you are, the doctor's after you, gotta lose, let me give you a pill. Okay, the pill's gonna help your blood sugars, but what's it gonna do to your weight? It might actually bring it up. So why is that? Well, you get all this sugar floating around. So now you take this pill to make more insulin, to move the sugar where? Because if you don't need it, where's it going to go? Body fat. So if you're taking this pill and you're eating more than you need, what's going to happen to your weight? So people say to me, I gained 5 pounds. Yes, but it's because of my pill. No, you gained 5 pounds because you've really got to watch your energy in. Or else you're taking this pill to move the sugar where? You know, sometimes we like to have a pill to fix problems, right? And the doctor says, all right, I'm going to give you this pill. You haven't done a thing with your eating, but we're going to take this pill. So what's going to happen to your blood sugars? Especially if you're not looking at this. It's going to go all over the place, up, down, all around. You're like a roller coaster. And you say, this pill is not good for me. It doesn't work for me. Is it the pill that's not working for you? You still got to look at this. All right? So that's that particular medicine. How many people here are on metformin? Okay? Yeah. Metformin is the #1 prescribed medication for diabetes. If you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, chances are that's where they're going to look at first, metformin. Now, metformin works at the liver. The liver is making sugar. The liver makes sugar when you need it. It's supposed to stop when you don't. So if you're eating a meal, the liver's supposed to shut down. But with people with diabetes, what they're finding is that that doesn't happen. The liver doesn't know not to give it to you, so it keeps giving it to you. It's very generous, too, because it's got loads stored up. That's one of the, when you have extra sugar, one of the first places that the body stores it is in the liver. So it's got a lot stored up. It loves to give. So the liver is giving you a lot of sugar all the time. How many people who test go to bed at 100, wake up at 130, and forgot how they got to the refrigerator? Right, right. You go, what happened? Did I eat something? Did I sleep? I must be sleepwalking because I don't know how that happened. It's the liver. The liver is giving you sugar. When do you need it the most? When you're not eating. That's when the liver's kicking it in, right? How about at nighttime or overnight, you know, you're waking up, your body usually wakes up at 6 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the morning, your body goes, hey, Brian's going to be getting up soon. I'm going to give him some extra energy. And he gives you some energy to get you going for the day. But if you don't have enough insulin to move this, what happens to your blood sugar? It goes up because this isn't moving out. And you wake up actually tired and drained because you don't have that energy that your body's supposed to be giving you. So your liver is very busy. Busy, busy bee, making lots of sugar, never knowing when to stop. Metformin's job is to cut back on that. Would we want it to stop altogether? No. We want the liver to be given some because it's important. But metformin helps your liver not give you so much. I kind of like to call it a little diet pill for the liver. We're supposed to cut back over here or fix it so that we're eating right. Metformin works on the liver, so the liver's not giving you so much. That's what it does. Make sense? Some of the side effects with metformin, how many people have been on metformin and had to come off? Yeah, because of bloating, diarrhea. That's one of the main side effects of metformin. Now, when people come in and they go, oh, this metformin is really bothering me, I go, wait a minute, let's try to fix it. Before we pull it out, let's try what we can try to make sure you can absolutely, absolutely take this medicine. Because it's really good at controlling your blood sugars. It's really good at not gaining weight. It's actually a weight loss. You get a weight loss from metformin because there's less sugar in. So if you can take it, we work really hard for you to try to take it. So if you were having, you know, the GI stuff, we go, all right, well, how much, what's the dose? Can we cut it back and get you used to it? Can we do extended release? Can we spread it out a little bit differently? We try what we can try to help you tolerate it. But if you cannot tolerate it, you cannot tolerate it and you have to come off. People who have kidney problems cannot be on metformin. So once your kidneys start not working, guess what? That metformin's got to go because it is filtered through the kidneys. And so if your kidneys are having some trouble, we don't want to give it metformin. It's just going to make it worse. So sometimes people have to come off because of that as well. All right? Questions about that? No. How many people are on Actos or Avandia? Actos, Avandia.
Lactose.
Yep. Those medications are insulin sensitizers. They make the insulin work better. So I like you to think about it because it actually works right on the cell. So if you notice, we've got one that works here. We've got one that works here. Now we've got one that works here, right on the cell. Remember that you have insulin resistance. The insulin is having trouble attaching. Those doors are kind of stuck. Think of Actos and Avandia like WD-40 for the doors. It helps open and close those doors so that your insulin works better. Remember what insulin does. Now, it doesn't pull extra sugar out, so you don't have to worry about a low blood sugar. Metformin doesn't put extra sugar. It just doesn't give you too much sugar. It doesn't take sugar out, so you don't have to worry about a low. So if you take metformin, you don't have to worry about going for a walk and having low blood sugar. Actos, you don't have to worry about having low blood sugar because it just makes the insulin you already have work better right here. It's not taking out any extra. It's just making it work better. Does that make sense? So you don't have to, does that make sense? No?
I get a lot of low blood sugar.
But you're also on glyburide.
And
So the glyburide is what's causing the low blood sugars, not the Actos or not the Avandia. So if you're having low blood sugars and you're thinking of why, don't think of Avandia, don't think of metformin, don't even think of Iota. Think of the glyburide or glycoside, that particular medicine. That's the one that's causing the low blood sugars. So if we're going to fix something, we're going to have to fix the right stuff. So WD-40 opens and closes, makes the insulin work better. Side effects to that is weight gain. So weight gain is a side effect of this particular medicine because it does help the insulin work better, and the insulin stores sugar. That's what it does. It also can cause fluid retention. So if you're taking this medicine and you're swelling up, think of your Actos or your Avandia. And the Avandia has a warning on the box because of your heart. So if you have heart problems or concerned about heart problems, you really should talk to your doctor about coming off the Avandia and going over to Actos. They both do the same thing, and the Actos doesn't have the warning. So might be something to discuss. Questions about your that Avandia or your Actos? How many people take Januvia? Okay. Januvia is a newer medication on the market. It's been around for the last couple of years. And it is based on the signaling system that goes from the stomach to the pancreas. How does the pancreas know to release insulin? How does the liver know to give you sugar? Somebody has to tell it. It's like if you're a plane up in the sky, how do you know you're next? Right? Somebody has to tell it. Somebody has to say, okay, you're good, you can come on in. And it is signals that leave your stomach that actually start this process. So when you eat a meal, a signal goes over to your pancreas to let your pancreas know food's coming. Then your pancreas then releases insulin. It sends a signal over to your liver that says, hey, Rose just ate. You can go take a break, put your feet up. We don't need sugar right now. So the liver shuts off. It tells the intestines to slow down. You're going to be digesting food, slow down, no hurry, it's not a race, go slow. And it tells your brain, you're going to be full soon. So Rose is eating, she's going to be full soon. And you get that feeling of fullness. That's how the system works. Well, guess what? People with type 2 diabetes, guess what? Their signals don't work. This message doesn't always get to the pancreas. So this message leaves the pancreas. I like to call him Bob. So Bob's the message. Bob has 2 minutes, by the way, because Bob gets destroyed after 2 minutes, so it doesn't keep sending signals. So 2 minutes, Bob gets destroyed. My Bob, because I don't have diabetes, my Bob says, hey, Rose, food's coming. My pancreas pushes the button, everything works. Yours says, hey, how are you? Julia, how are you? So you're from Dartmouth. Is it sunny over there in Dartmouth? Nice area. Traffic, with all of that. School and this jobs. So what's going on here? Does Bob know yet? No, because Bob's talking to Julia. Bob didn't give the pancreas the message. 2 minutes later, Bob gets destroyed, and the pancreas goes, hey, Bob, it was nice knowing you. Did the pancreas make any insulin? Did it tell the liver to stop? Did it tell the brain that it was going to feel hungry? So what happens? You overeat, you don't have enough insulin, and your liver never stops. That leads to high blood sugars. That's the first phase of the insulin response. That's what happens when you eat right away within the first couple of minutes. Now your blood sugars are in the blood. Now your blood sugar is high, and the message goes over to the pancreas saying, hello, can I have some insulin here? I got to move this sugar out. And the pancreas works. That's the second phase. Januvia works on that first phase. It helps Bob last a little longer. Bob gets destroyed by another hormone. I call him David. It's DPP4. He destroys Bob. So Januvia destroys David. So Januvia just lets Bob live. Does it make Bob any faster? No, it just lets him live beyond the 2 minutes. But it doesn't make him any faster. How many people are on Victoza? This is a medicine that actually is super Bob. Very strong signals that help the pancreas make insulin after a meal, that helps the liver shut down, helps your brain feel full. So now you get this sense of fullness so you don't eat as much. It helps to slow down your intestines. Byetta and Victoza are the newer ones out, and it's all about the stomach. All about the stomach. It is an injection taken once with the Victoza, twice a day if you're on the Byetta, but it is these super, super signals that are going to help this along. It will only help if your pancreas makes enough insulin, because there ain't nobody home, nobody's going to answer the door. So you can send all the signals you want, but if the pancreas is not making insulin, it's not making insulin. And so that may not be effective for people who have had diabetes a long time, people who, whose pancreas are just really tired and don't make a lot. But it's a nice medication to add to the medicines that we have to treat type 2 diabetes that help control the system and help you lose weight. So when you're thinking about medicines, and if you need to go on medicines, you need to talk to the doctor about medications that are going to help you support weight loss, not medicines that promote weight gain. So it's really important to have that conversation with the doctor if that's a concern for you. Does the Byetta Victoza make sense? How it works? Did I miss any? There's a medications called starch blockers. They're Precoce or Glycet. Anybody take those? They block starch right from the stomach so that the food doesn't even actually get into the bloodstream. They work really well with pastas and fruits. So you eat pasta and fruits and you take this pill and guess what you end up doing? Going to the bathroom. Because it blocks the sugar from getting into the bloodstream, so where's it going to go? Out the other end. So those medicines kind of help block that. You stop taking the pill, one or the other, because living with that is not going to happen. Did I miss any outside of insulin? Does anybody take any medications that I did not cover? All right. Insulin is more insulin. That is what it is. You don't have enough trucks to deliver, it's like AAA. It gives you more. Okay? Now, your pancreas does two things. It has have people think of it as two departments. It makes insulin a little bit all the time. Drip, drip, drip. That's because your liver gives you sugar a little bit all the time. It's like a thermostat. You need more, this one goes up, this one comes down, and it all stays level to a blood sugar of about 70 to 100. Okay? When you're looking at eating, now you ate a bunch of food, so you just dropped a load of sugar in there. Well, you need a gush. So your pancreas gives you a bunch of insulin all at one time to move that out. So when people have diabetes, their pancreas is having trouble in both of those areas. But the insulin that we see used can be drip, 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 Levemir, Lantus. Those medications you work very slowly for the drip, for what the liver gives you. And we balance it. So you take a little bit more, a little bit less, all to balance what the liver gives you. But when you have a gush, you need a bunch of insulin all at one time. And so there are insulins for that, Novolog, Humalog, Apidra. All of those work really quickly to give you enough insulin for the food. That's where balance becomes a really big concern, right? If you've got this much insulin and this much food, okay. How about if you take this much insulin and this much food? Or tomorrow you take this much food. What's going to happen to your blood sugar? All over the place. So what does it come back down to? It always, always, always comes back down to managing your food. Now, when we talk about that, we talk about managing your food, how many carbohydrates you need, and Lori's actually going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how much do you need. But I like to always point out to the people who are meal skippers. How many people here skip meals? Really? Wow, fabulous. Most of the time, 75% of the room are meal skippers. Maybe our message is getting there. Because it is really important not to skip meals. For your weight and for your diabetes, management, it's really important that you eat your meals. So that's the first step. You eat your meals, 3 meals a day, a couple of snacks if you need them. But it's really important, but we don't seem to have a problem with this group, so fabulous. Any questions about what we've talked about so far? Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to turn it over to Lori, and Lori's just going to start going into the food, what the carbohydrates are, what you're trying to do in terms of putting your meals together.